What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to an extended edition of For The Fans. Today we take a look at last weekend's football results, but primarily focus on the transferring actions and goings on in the Premier League. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and other than that, let's get straight into the show.
Hello there, folks. Welcome back to this Premier League and transfer special. We did record a show at the weekend, which you won't have heard, because me and Jack have heard it. Keno hasn't heard it, and we've not heard Callum. That was the problem. But we're back again. Jack, how are you?
I'm not too bad. I mean, I'm getting a weird sense of deja vu doing 2 shows in a week, but in doing this show, we surpassed how far we got last year when we did these shows.
Yeah, we're breaking
records. We vanished
records
from transfer deadline day or thereafter.
Now, this is a big moment for us, Jack. Callum, are you there?
I am here, and I don't want to talk about
it. Okay.
He's got a new mic as well. It was the catalyst for change.
Yeah,
He's reinvented himself.
The events of the weekend, it couldn't go on.
He's literally made as many purchases as Arsenal, and we'll get onto that later. So then, I did a lovely feature at the weekend, which no one will ever hear until the Christmas special. Although it was a lovely. It was
a really good feature, actually.
Thank you.
I feel like is anything going to be out of context at Christmas? That's my concern.
That feature
now.
Definitely is going to be, because it was. I'll tell you now, folks. It was birthday themed, and I only have one a year. So I mean, at least it'll be Jesus' birthday, so it'll make sense for all events. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll go with it.
So I've got a new feature today. Luckily, I'm a feature machine. Boys, you've both got stopwatches ready, and that's the only information you've been told for today's feature. Is that true?
That is correct.
That's true. I feel like I'm being sworn to secrecy or something.
Okay. So you're going to have 30 seconds on the clock. We're going to play charades, boys. But the charades, basically, it's not quite charades, and you might think, oh, charades isn't a particularly audio feature. You'd be right. What I'm going to do, I want no cheating, obviously, is describe Premier League badges to you, and you're going to tell me what the club is. And you're going to take it in turns. You're going to have 30 seconds on the clock. Are you excited about today's feature?
I am.
Very excited. This is a good one.
Thank you. They're always good, Callum. They're always good.
I know, that was a bit of a dig, that was so...
What do you mean? Tell me a feature that we've had this year that wasn't good.
Keno's mic.
Oh.
Way.
Okay. Okay, then.
That's a dig.
So, who would like to go first?
Keno.
I'll go first.
Callum Keane. Jack,
do I have to time
you are timing it on the clock for us. Callum Keane, your badges start now. Okay, it's a lion. It's got a star on it as well. It says prepared at the bottom.
The Villa.
Correct. They've got a sort of heading a ball on it. It's very strange. It's not the sort of... You can pass, by the way. It's a head heading the ball. It's unusual. I've never seen something like it before.
Bournemouth?
Correct. Okay, it's got a castle on it and some things that look a little
Everton.
bit like shit. Correct. It's got a... This is going to get a fox on it.
Leicester.
Correct.
Time!
Oh, my word. 4.
Sorry, I got a bit excited then coming in time. I wanted to say it earlier, just live.
4 in 30 seconds. You know, it's not bad.
Did you do 30 seconds, Jack?
I did do 30 seconds. You can watch the podcast back and watch your little tiny thing at the top tick away.
Bournemouth held you back there, I think.
It took you 12 seconds.
That was
that's an exaggeration.
Bournemouth's badge is a confusing... It's a confusing badge. I'll say that much.
Can we just point out, it took Keno 7 minutes to get the Villa's badge.
7 seconds.
7 minutes?
Yeah.
7 seconds.
7 minutes would be a long time.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, I should say there are quite a few, but I don't want to give it away. Jack, are you ready for your time? Callum Keane, have we got 30 seconds on the clock?
We have.
Excellent.
Can I just need to get comfortable in my chair. I'm on the edge of my seat. You know, like that limbering up before any Christmas party game.
Well, I've got to do it as well. I feel like I'm looking at a bit of paper and I've got to read it out quickly. Okay, so Keno, if you can count us in. Jack, your 30 seconds starts when Keno says so.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, it's a little bird. It's stood on a ball. It looks more like a basketball than correct. It's got 3 colours on it. It's like a moose or a ram. I'm not sure what you'd call it really. It's
Watford.
Correct. It's got a little robin on some green and like little berry things. It's got stripes in the background.
West Brom.
Correct. It's got 2 seahorses and a little castle thing in the middle.
Newcastle.
Correct.
3,
It's
2,
it's another little bird on a ball.
Stop.
Watford. Just
No,
name of the club.
Obviously, I wasn't going to say Canary because that would be a bit of a giveaway, but it was Norwich. So I think Callum, what did he get?
I got 4.
He got 4 as well.
Oh bloody hell! Okay, so we'll have to go to the decider. Okay.
That was dramatic.
Thank you. Didn't plan
I
on
feel
this.
like all the
Oh,
lighting
right,
in the
sorry.
studios suddenly come down.
It's a bit late now, but Ben's feature of the week. Just you might want to put that in earlier. Okay, so what I'm gonna have to do is describe one more badge, and the first person to get it wins this week. All right,
Okay.
That sound fair enough?
Is it from the Premier League again?
Maybe not. Right,
That's a turn up for the Bucks.
are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready.
It's a big bird. It looks like it's flapping and attacking a city, a small city. It's
Crystal
vicious.
Palace.
Correct
I win.
answer. Crystal Palace. He's won Ben's feature of the week.
Well done, Jack.
Thanks, man. Can we just discuss the fact it's a big bird and it looks like it's attacking a city?
Attacking the city.
No, look at folks at home. Look at the badge of Crystal Palace.
I feel like it's meant to be flying over the stadium, is it not?
No, well, potentially, but it doesn't look like that in the badge. I'm describing the badge, not the metaphor behind the badge.
I thought you were kind of advertising some weird kind of Godzilla spin-off.
I wasn't. Anyway, that was Ben's feature of the week. Tune in next week when we do an international special, and there'll be an international themed feature.
Are we actually doing an international show? Is that happening?
Yes.
Got a
we will
feature.
be.
It will be just an angry kind of shouting contest where we moan about England in British fashion.
Yeah, it will consist of a lot of moaning about England, but we probably will talk about the other home nations as well.
We'll think about it. Yeah. Well, we've got about Wales. They've just leapfrogged England. I'll get it out eventually. I've got a frog in my
Biggest club in
throat.
Britain.
And
Biggest club.
if
Brilliant,
they
Jack.
win both, if they win both their matches, they'll qualify for the first major tournament since the 50s. So
Incredible stuff. Anyway, that was a preview for you.
The Bale effect.
Over the weekend, we did discuss the Premier League fixtures. There were some big games going on. There were some big results happening. And sadly, we've lost it. But we will talk about it in brief as we go through the transfers for some Premier League sides. So let's have a little chat then about probably the most surprising result of the weekend. It was Manchester United. It was at Swansea, and Manchester United being in good form, Jack, and Swansea did it, didn't they?
was it the most surprising result of the weekend?
There was two, but I think United have been in hot form, whereas Chelsea have been on the ropes a little bit.
Can I just say, I'm drawing comparisons between United and Liverpool because I feel like they're in the same boat at the moment. I kind of feel like the first few results they've had this season kind of perhaps don't tell the full story behind kind of how inept both teams have looked. So as much as I'm surprised perhaps they lost to Swansea, I don't think you could call it a surprise. Swansea have looked good. They took a point away from Stamford Bridge. They've been getting plenty of goals. AU's hit the ground running. Gomes 4 goals in 4 after the United game. United, they've been good defensively, but I mean, you think back to games like the Newcastle game and the Tottenham game, they've really not had that killer edge. And it was kind of evident again when they dominated this game but failed to take any chances and kind of, I guess, extend their lead beyond just the one goal.
Yeah, we'll talk about if they've bought a killer edge a little bit later on. But Kino, we spoke about it the weekend, but Andre Ayew is looking like one of the best signings of the summer so far, and again, he was the game ever in all history of all time, and he was game changing once again, especially in the second half for Swansea.
I mean, you talk about teams that have play the transfer market well and teams that don't play it so well. That Manchester United and Swansea are basically at both ends of that spectrum. Like you say, for a free as well. I think they paid a few million. Actually, in compensation or something like that.
The sign-on fee was hefty. I think we'll say that much.
It did cost them a little bit, but in terms of the impact he's already had, and you'd expect him to continue to have this season, it looks like a fantastic bit of business. And he wouldn't look out of place at any of those sort of top 6 clubs, you would say.
Did we prefer his goal or his assist?
I think the assist, actually, with the pass.
I think I like the assist.
I think everything. I think the fact he was in my fantasy football team.
Yeah, I like that as well. He was in mine too. I think you're right. I think he's going to be a huge player for Swansea. And we say all this, he'll probably get injured in international duty now, come back, and it'll be a sad moment for him. But
I feel sorry for Swansea because they made a big signing in Eder from Braga, the striker. You know, come with a little bit of a reputation. And now Gomis is just firing them in, which is something he didn't really do all that much last year.
I think that's what they want, though, right?
It's a great situation for Swansea because it means that Eder will want to come in and be knowing that he has to hit the ground running straight away. It creates and also not just the signings that they've made over the last few years, like. We were talking about underrated players in that podcast. Jack Cork in the middle was fantastic for them again. And obviously Ashley Williams has been there a long time, but they got him from the non-league, I think.
Well, you think about players that have left Southampton in the last few years. Obviously, United have bought Schneidlin, Swansea got Cork, and you wouldn't have been able to work out which one cost 25 million at the weekend. And I think that was a key point in that game.
I think Swansea are one of the best run clubs in the league.
Oh,
I think you look at their transfers out, the fact they got rid of Boney for what they did, and they brought in Eder and Gomis for like a fraction of that price. And you wouldn't even know it. And I mean, I think they could be. I think I said it in like last weekend show that no one's seen, and I'm afraid we are going to reference that quite a lot because I don't want to do too much of a crossover. But I think they could finish kind of into the top 7 this year, Swansea.
Do you mean 7th?
No, I think they could finish beyond that.
I don't know. We spoke about this. Yes, you did think they would finish above.
We'll go on to that a little bit later.
A certain side. But no, I think for United, although he scored in midweek, we'll talk about their transfer business later. But I think Rooney is going to be a major concern for United. I think it's getting to a point now where it's going to become a problem. It's not just this season; it was last season as well. And do we think it's a Rooney problem? Is it a Van Gaal problem? Is it a system problem? What's up with Wayne Rooney? Because he can do it in Europe, so
it's a big problem.
I'm not sure that Rooney. I mean, he'll be 30 soon. I'm not sure that he has the physical attributes now to play as that out and out number 9 that they need. I think, and it's a problem because he'd probably look better playing deeper in the number 10 role. But then if you look at the players that United have to play there. I don't know if he'd fit there. So the only place that you could really play him and keep the rest of the new signings is up front. It's a difficult one.
I've just thought, actually, because we talk about Juan Mata, right? And Juan Mata plays on that right side with Damian cutting across. It's obviously it's an obvious ploy that Mata's supposed to cut in and Damian provides the width on the right side, and the same thing occurs on the left with Luke Shaw. Could you maybe play Rooney on the right? I don't know. I've not heard anyone say that. Play Rooney on the right, play Mata in behind, we'll reference his name, behind Marshall maybe, I don't know, they've brought him in, and then Depay on the left. Could you see Rooney moving away from the central core of Manchester United and maybe playing out wide? I don't know, I feel like he could like Mata scored at the weekend, did he not? So maybe that's an area that Rooney could find a little bit of goal scoring form in.
Mata plays on that right hand side with like not a lot of pace in the same way that you'd expect Rooney to play if he was there. You could feasibly interchange the two. I mean, if you move Rooney back, you'd have them swapping around anyway during a match. Do you want to talk about Marshall? Because if we're kind of weaving in the transfers to the matches, that was one of the biggest deadline day deals.
I think I want to talk about it a little bit later on, so we can talk about De Gea as well. I mean, talk about Manchester United as a whole. But yeah, it wasn't the only upset. Obviously, Chelsea are doing Chelsea things, well, especially this season anyway. It's not been the best start for them, Jack. And on his 100th game at home, Mourinho came on stuck.
He did. And my favourite thing about this is Pardew, I'm afraid. Because we talked about last show how he was kind of the people's man, a man for the masses.
He's a great guy.
And at the end of the game, Mourinho's looking really sad. He's lost this game, and it's a big game for him. It's a landmark game, and he looks a bit sad. He just comes in for the hug, and Pardew just embraces him, and there's like a moment there that they share. I think at that moment, Mourinho went onto Pardew's Christmas card list.
I can imagine Mourinho will bring a book out called Embraced by Pardew.
Pardew gives as he receives. He's on everyone's Christmas card list, so it's only right of him to include Jose in there as well. You talk about Pardew. I don't think. And I've heard this going around a little bit, like this time next year, after the Euros, could Pardew be in the frame for the England job, do you think?
Well, I think he's going to win it. He'll still be here.
Well,
I'll accept that bet, and we'll shake on it now. I think it'll be between 3, won't it? I think it'll depend. I think Eddie Howe would be more likely to get the job if Bournemouth go down, in a weird sense. I don't know. I can see that potentially happening. And then Gary Monk, who we've just spoken about at Swansea. I mean, we talked a lot about Manchester United's deficiency. Swansea were excellent, and Gary Monk's got to play.
Yeah, it's funny because you don't hear him, and I think a lot of people think he's Welsh because he manages Swansea, but like you don't hear his name like bandied about when people talk about the England job, and I don't think he doesn't really get enough credit.
I think we shouldn't talk about the next England manager until Newcastle have had a proper run at this Premier League. Because Steve McLaren, I've always thought he could do that job, and I don't think we should write him off just yet. But Chelsea, Keno. Chelsea. I feel like we're talking about the big teams here because of what they didn't do, and I think it's kind of a given that to beat these teams you've got to play well. So Swansea and Palace have done extraordinarily well, and West Ham, who we'll come on to, played very well this weekend. But Chelsea just don't look right. And we talked about the back line not being up to it last week and the week before, and it was a case of it happening all over again.
I mean, it does look, and this is the worrying thing if I was a Chelsea fan, it doesn't look like a short-term blip, sort of drop of form. If you look at the problems, and this kind of began to become noticeable after the whole Eva Carneiro affair, it looks like there's more.
Don't describe it as an affair. Whatever you do.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't describe it as an affair. Describe it as anything else. Don't say a bus stop either. Let's
you can edit that out, Jack. You can edit that out.
If you can try edit these podcasts, Ben wants me to put the jingle of Ben's feature of the week at the start. That ain't happening.
For legal reasons.
Don't do that.
So after the whole doctor thing, it looks like there's more of a kind of chronic problem at Chelsea. It's strange, as though this kind of prolonged pre-season. I mean, we've mentioned it before, and as it carries on going longer into the season, we'll just have to keep talking about it because it looks like there's something seriously wrong. Just in the way that the playing staff and Mourinho are kind of working right now. Talking, the signings, and we picked on Ivanovic quite a lot last week, and the defensive frailties. They made one defensive signing on deadline day, and that was Michael Hector from Reading.
Great signing.
I mean, it doesn't look like he's, because obviously they missed out on John Stones. It doesn't look like he's initially trying to replace the holes that are obviously there.
I think what Chelsea will end up doing is, because they brought in Baba Rahman from Augsburg. That's right. I think they'll move Azpilicueta across and play him at the right. And
that looks like the logical thing. But
it's not only logical; it's the only thing they can do.
Yeah,
it's not because they've not got. They can't, as you say, they didn't bring anyone in. So we'll talk about it later. But we can't. As Mourinho, you're going right. I'm gonna have to work with what I've got, and we're gonna have to mix it all around a bit. So he's gonna have to bring Rahman in. You don't spend 14 million, 21 overall on a player and not play him. So he's gonna have to play left back, and it makes the Felipe Luis signing and sale look stranger and stranger. The more you even think about it. So he's gonna have to move Azpilicueta on the right hand side, bring Baba in, and just hope that Terry and Cahill find form.
Sort it out between them. Yeah.
What an awkward situation for Chelsea to be in.
I do think though the international breaks come at a good time.
You can look at it both ways, can't you? You could say they've got to try and sort this problem out quickly, and they're going to have to just get over it, or they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. And it's not like there can be a rejigging system from Mourinho. I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
I think if I was him, I would start trying to press teams a lot higher up the pitch so you relieve pressure on your back line. Because at the moment, Chelsea's midfield are struggling. Like Fabregas and Matic are nowhere near the standard they've been at before. That it's, as you say, we spoke about it at the weekend, although we obviously didn't hear it. That it could be just a fitness thing. It could be as simple as being a fitness thing.
I mean, also it's been noticeable that teams have kind of worked out. You talk about the midfield; they've worked out that Fabregas. I mean, this has obviously been common knowledge, but teams have been able to exploit his lack of defensive quality. It seems in the last few games more than they ever did last season at any point. It's strange that, like you say, it could be that little drop in fitness that has made it so much more obvious. But it seems like particularly on Saturday, I think they were exploiting that gap, and Matic is having to work overtime. Also, just to quickly touch on the international break, if there is a problem there with morale and the staff, it will at least give Mourinho a few weeks to try and sort that before a lot of the international players come back.
But logically speaking, a lot of it's like you look at Chelsea's first team, a lot of those players will be going away. So you're effectively saying to these international managers, please get my guy in form, and the players that won't be going, players like Terry won't be going. So it's not really solving a problem. And isn't Terry suspended anyway? So it's not like he can play.
Well, I think they should sign Pogba. Wait, sorry, I forgot that they're closed.
Yeah,
I think we're doing the weekend show still. Can we call transfers still? Are we allowed to do that?
I'll tell you what. I wish we could go back in time, because Liverpool played West Ham at the weekend, and not only did Coutinho get sent off, so did Mark Noble. I should say, actually, good job we can record this now. Mark Noble's red card was rescinded, boys. So I think
rightly so.
It was quite clear it wasn't a red. Coutinho's was good one, Jack. It was quite clear that it wasn't a red for Noble, but it was a red for Coutinho. Two silly little, one bit of dissent, which unforgivable really at the top level, and then a late challenge, and Payet did really well. Liverpool are out of ideas. They're very blunt. We had a rant about it at the weekend. I'm annoyed now.
We did. I feel like I'm getting all my thoughts are resurfacing, but I don't feel like I can quite construct the argument and thoughts I had immediately kind of preceding the game as we did it last time.
If only you edited and you just put that bit back in.
I might even do that. I might just if I edited, I could stick my rant in at this point. Because we had quite a big discussion about the fact that we kind of feel like Benteke is kind of just seen as this man who's like, great, we can pump up this ball to this guy, but there's no one ever playing off him.
And he's also not that. I think it's a bit of a misconception. He's not that type of player. He's not the kind of player that you pump balls up to.
As I said at the weekend, though, my favourite thing about this game, like the highlight of it, was the fact we played with two strikers for 30 minutes.
And as I said at the weekend, that's purely because it was Danny Ings. And it had nothing to do with the fact it was two strikers.
I just feel like Benteke needs someone playing off him, and I feel like we are repeating ourselves. But Coutinho and Firmino, I always want to call him Firmino. It's something about him being Brazilian.
I don't mind.
They like to play either side of Benteke, kind of as wingers almost, that kind of float quite narrow a lot of the time and really rely on our fullbacks to give us width. And the game plan is to be pump it up to Benteke, let him nod it down for them to work some magic of some kind, whereas they need to be making runs on beyond him. I'd like to see Firmino.
Jack, just go with it, mate. We all know what you mean.
I'd like to see him play off Benteke, kind of running on ahead of him with Coutinho more down the middle. I thought the change at half-time was really bizarre, switching to a 3-5-2.
Taking Shan off as well was.
I think I said it at the weekend, but I think every single one of Rodgers' decisions for this game was completely wrong. And
it started wrong. Yeah, he played Gomez, who started the season very well, but it became very clear after about 5 minutes that he needed Moreno on the pitch, and then chose to keep Gomez on as well, and he took Shan off, and we missed. How many times were you going to say we said this at the weekend?
I had too many. I feel like I need to get a counter on screen for everyone.
Liverpool massively miss Jordan Henderson when he's not there, and I think it goes a little bit under the radar because he's not seen as this fashionable player. There's this misconception about Jordan Henderson that he's just this up and down workhorse runner, but in actual fact, he does a whole lot more than that. Of course, he applies pressure, but he lets other players flourish around him, and I think that was the key thing we lacked. I think at the weekend, me and Kino talked about the system, and that you can play someone up with Benteke, put Firmino up there. He's clearly not cut out to play out wide at the moment. His fitness levels aren't there. Play the diamond that was so successful in the season where we did so well. Of course, it changes slightly. Sterling's a slightly different player to Coutinho. Firmino would be a slightly different player to Luis Suarez. And Sturridge will be back soon. So, I don't know. Manchester United coming up after the international break, I'm hoping that Rodgers sees that the players are there to play that system again. So, play it. Because right now, there isn't a system. And we didn't have a system last season either. And it's just the same thing happening all over again.
I mean, from the outside looking in, I don't know what you two think about it, but Liverpool didn't sign a centre-half at all in that window. It just looks as though, I mean, you had Saka on the bench and you let Thiago Lloris come to us, the Villa. Do you not think that could have been an area that they should have strengthened?
Absolutely, but it's that we've spent 20 million on Saka, we've spent 20 million on Lovren, and I would bet Rodgers has been told, you ain't buying another one.
We've got Skell, Sacco, Lovren and Kolo Toure. You'd think between them there should be two players capable of, I want to say not shipping free against West Ham, but really capable of playing in a team that should be at least striving for top four.
I'm not a Skirtle fan, but Lovren and Sacco are not performing consistently enough to hold down that spot. So by that virtue, Skirtle has to play, and it's just a bit of a... and then it makes everyone else look worse. It makes Lucas look worse. It makes Klein look worse because they're playing with an unsettled partnership that is nervous. You could see at the weekend, Lovren's goal came from him looking daft on the ball and giving it away. But I want to switch it round. West Ham, we spoke about it last week. They're going to do this a lot. I just hoped it wouldn't have been Liverpool, Kino. We've said it. They will do this against the top teams, and then they will falter in the coming weeks against teams that are seen as the lesser teams.
Yeah, I mean, it won't even be just a top team and bottom team kind of divide. They will have matches where they will look fantastic and play really dynamic counter-attacking football, like they did at the weekend. And then there will be games like the Bournemouth game where it's just like, what is happening? That's, we called it last week, and I think that will be a theme of their season. But they deserve a lot of credit, and so does Slaven Bilic for the way that they played. He did say something interesting, and it's something that you see quite a lot in the fact that I think there's only been 7 home victories so far this season out of the 30-odd matches that have been played. Teams seem to, at the moment at least, struggle to play at home and play on top of other sides. Everyone wants to counter-attack, and Bilic said that basically, it was so much easier for us to kind of come to Anfield and play with 2 banks of 4 and then break quickly than it would have been than it was for them last week when they were playing Bournemouth, and Bournemouth did the same to them. And with the home fans on your side, you tend to have more of the ball. You tend to be sort of camping outside the other team's area a little bit, and you leave yourself open to the counter attack. And because a lot of teams are kind of making signings and prioritising pace and counter attacking kind of qualities, and teams are playing that way a lot away from home, I think that is kind of one of the reasons why we've seen only those 7 home wins. And West Ham will be really effective at that, and the signings that they've made as well with players like Victor Moses, that will only make them better at that.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that counter-attacking style of play, because Crystal Palace certainly did it away at Chelsea, and interestingly,
there you go.
Swansea did it, but at home they made Manchester United feel very comfortable in that first half, and then in the second half they played 4v3 at the back and kept their wingers up, kept their 2 front men up, and their goals both came from counter-attacks. We said that at the weekend, but it still applies to now. History doesn't change as much as our recording might. So, I mean, there were other games that happened at the weekend. We're not oblivious to that. We just understand that it is now Thursday/Friday, and all that's been said about those games is kind of all that's been said about those games. So, we're going to go through the transfer window now. It was requested by quite a lot of people on Twitter and on YouTube and elsewhere. So, shall we kind of go alphabetically? We'll spend longer on some teams than we will others. I think sometimes it's more interesting on what teams didn't do compared to what they did do. Gentlemen, we will start with Arsenal, who made one notable in. It was Petr Cech from Chelsea for 10 million, which is highly documented. And on the outs, I guess the main players were Podolski, went to Galatasaray. Szczesny's gone on loan to Roma. Gnabry's left. He was obviously hotly tipped, but he's now gone off to West Brom. Diaby finally left, and Sonogo has gone to Ajax on loan. What do we make of the window then? Jack, Arsenal, thoughts?
I'd be so angry if I was an Arsenal fan. I think I'm angry not as an Arsenal fan, but as someone who wants to see competition in the league. Because what the hell has Wenger done? I don't know if it's naivety from him to only bring in Petr Cech. They did also bring in a guy called Daniel Malen from Ajax. He's only 16. I've heard a few people saying, they only signed Cech. They did sign one outfield player. I think he plays up front, so they did sign one outfield player. But I'd just be fuming. I don't know if it's Wenger's tried to gain players and he's not been successful. I don't know if it's a degree of naivety. I honestly think for Wenger, he just has too much faith in his own player's ability that he doesn't feel like he needs to strengthen. He just seems to be looking through everything with kind of rose-tinted goggles.
Goggles. He wears glasses.
Goggles.
I mean, goggles.
Definitely goggles, man. He definitely goes swimming with
from underwater. Wenger is underwater shopping, Callum. What have you made of Arsenal's window then? Not enough, or have they sort of strengthened the key area with Cech?
I think it might have been you said someone made a funny kind of comment on Twitter. They were saying that Arsenal need to sack Wenger, replace him with a manager who will make the signings that they need to make, and then reinstate Wenger.
Yeah,
so
someone did tweet that.
So he's just got those players, because I wouldn't say it's naivety. I think it's just more just how stubborn he is to not strengthen the areas that everyone can see needs to be added to. I mean, people said that Cech would be worth 10 points a season, and while that may be true, and while he may give a degree of solidity, it's not just that point that Arsenal need to focus on. And if you look at the number of outs that they've got rid of, and you've already mentioned them, some key kind of squad players, and if you're trying to challenge on multiple fronts, letting players like Podolski go, experienced players who can play in a lot of different positions, it doesn't seem like the kind of the approach that you'd want to take if you want to go deep in the Champions League or the FA Cup, which Arsenal have done well in recently. And if you want to go deep in multiple tournaments, letting a player like him go, admittedly, probably wasn't happy. It just seems a bit silly to me.
Can I say something that's going to sound bizarre, but I'm amazed that they sold Podolski and then loaned out Sinogo and Akpom. Because they've now got Welbeck, who I think's been revealed he's going to be out injured till Christmas. As odd as it sounds, a player like Sinogo wouldn't be the worst backup to have at this point.
I wonder how much. I do wonder how much they knew about that, about the Welbeck thing, because they've still got Joel Campbell, they've still got Walcott, still got Sanchez, still got Giroud. But that's, I think, weirdly, as much as people say Arsenal need to sign a centre forward, to me that's not their main concern, and it continues to be that central role that he's refusing to try and buy a player in. I think it's obvious to everybody but Arsene Wenger that Liverpool, lol, just because we need it as well, to be fair, that Arsenal need that defensive midfielder, that rock in there. But if he's, and we made this point at the weekend, that if he's not there, then Wenger won't go for him, and it's quite clear that Wenger doesn't think he's there. Now, whether another, and this is the key point, whether another manager would come in and immediately bring someone in, a player like Victor Wanyama, who wanted to leave, Spurs were linked, as well as a couple of others, then that could be the missing ingredients to an Arsenal title challenge, because their forward line, players like Ozil, players like Sanchez, even players like Giroud or Walcott, that could challenge for a title. That is good enough in those forward areas to challenge for a title. It's the bit in front of the defence and the lack of depth in that back line that is the real issue for Arsenal. I think the goal scorer thing's fine, but I mean, Giroud didn't not score last season. He's got quite a few. Walcott wants to play there. It's just that core ingredient that they're missing. It's the Vieira replacement, if that's what he wants. I mean, I don't know what he wants.
I like to believe Wenger every summer rings up Vieira, trying to convince him to come out of retirement, saying he wants him back.
Have you got a son, Patrick? Have you got a son we can have?
Scholes did it for Fergie. Come on, you're better than Paul Scholes, aren't you, Patrick? Aren't you? Yeah, all right. Roy Keane's coming out as well, apparently. What? I think that's what it would take. I think if Van Gaal got Keane back at United, Vieira would go, "That's it, I'm back." I think that's
the way you actually slammed down your fist on your desk. Then
that was Wenger putting the phone down. That wasn't me. The Wenger putting the phone down. That was Vieira putting the phone down.
That's the Roy Keane effect.
That is the Roy Keane effect. He sends reverberations around rooms nationwide just when his name's mentioned. So I mean, again, I think Arsenal's key situation has been what they've not done compared to what they have done. Do we think they are stronger at this point than they were at the end of last season?
I mean, it's difficult to make an argument to say that they're like much stronger. I mean, you look at.
They've lost Diaby. I mean, player. My big worry for Arsenal is that I think whilst you could argue their squad's much stronger, the same issues still are there. Like, as much as Cech is a fantastic keeper, Chesney isn't the worst keeper to have. I still think he's like a top 4.
They've got Ospina though. They have Ospina though.
But I don't rate him at all. I didn't like Chesney. That's
kind of. I don't think Cech was the player that I would have spent 10 million on if that's all I had to spend as an Arsenal manager. I just don't. I think there's other areas that could have definitely needed that money more.
That's the crazy thing about it, because you say if they've only got 10 million to spend, that cannot be the case.
No.
Of course it can't.
But that is that for Arsenal fans, that must be the most frustrating thing, that the net spend for Arsenal this year is about, it's about 8 million. What? I'd be livid. Honestly, I'm not Arsenal fans. It's not that I'm a Liverpool fan and I'm talking shit about you. I genuinely feel that it must be so frustrating. I feel the same for Manchester United fans, who we'll come on to later. It just must be. It must be infuriating watching a club that you really love just have the same systemic problem year after year, window after window. And get in touch, Arsenal fans, at ForTheFans Show on Twitter.
I feel like we need to move swiftly on to Villa now, but I feel like we could talk about them for a while because we've got Callum here. But we spent 8 minutes on Arsenal there.
Callum,
there's 20 teams.
Callum, tell us the best bit of business Aston Villa did over there. Callum, act as if you're a guest on today's show, okay? And I'm going to quiz you on Aston Villa's ins and outs. Okay.
We spoke about the Villa transfers before, like just on deadline day we brought in Lescott, and as I said before, Thiago Lloris from Liverpool. I mean, you can probably tell me, maybe you can't because you didn't see him play. Tell me a bit more about him than I could sort of
Football
know.
Manager told me he's championship quality.
I think it's a funny signing for you. It's bizarre that Liverpool are letting him go out. I don't mean, again, it's another stupid thing Liverpool have done where they've bought a player. Same thing like with Quates. You'll probably sign him, by the way. Look forward to him because he'll probably be quite good. He's very highly rated, though he's just not playing for Liverpool. Yeah, it's a strange signing considering you bought in Lescott as well.
Talking about, I think it's a very sensible bit of business considering we let Nathan Baker out on loan, which is long overdue, to Bristol City, which is about his level. We've strengthened in that area over the summer, so now we've got 4 probably first choice Premier League quality, very up top half, centre halves in Richards, Clark, Lescott obviously, and then Akore as well when he comes back from injury. So I quite like the way that we've rejigged that over the summer. We look a lot more solid there. We've got cover in all areas really across the defence. I'd say maybe if Jordan Amavi got injured during the season, we'd lose quite a lot of attacking presence on the left hand side because he's quite important for us.
I just put Scott Sinclair at left back. Problem solved.
You could play him anywhere and he'd score goals, Jack. Right now, that's it. That's a good bit of business as well. Permanent signing of Sinclair. Everyone's going to look at the Traore deal really, but I would actually say, having been to the matches so far this season, that Idrissa Gueye probably looks like the best signing that we've made actually, and he does look like if not a replacement, possibly an improvement on Delph in the midfield.
That's a dig.
Having seen the way that they now play in the centre, he is more of a genuine holding, playmaking midfielder instead of Delph, who would like to make those kind of Henderson-esque runs through the defence. And I feel like we can now play a bit more of a kind of a conventional 4-2-3-1 with Gueye and Carlos Sanchez or Westwood holding with him, and to allow players like Grealish, Gill, Traore to sort of buzz around in front of them, and I think it'll work a lot better. And we spent 9 million on Gueye as well, so it wasn't cheap.
But is he loyal?
Does it matter though?
That's the thing. People are saying these kind of players. I could see Amavi moving to a top 6 club in the future, maybe top 4 Champions League quality. He looks like a fantastic player at 21. He was in the League One team of the season last year, but that doesn't really matter to me. Because if those players can stay for 3 years, maybe 2 or 3 years like Benteke did, take us to a higher level, then we can bring more players like that in. It's a sort of positive cycle. So if someone like Amavi wants to go to a Chelsea or a City in a few years' time, that's okay, because he'll have brought us up to a higher level. And so
he'll triple his value, sell him on, and then you go again with someone of a similar category to Amavi is right now. So
a positive kind of process. So I think. With
your
that
best
regard,
sale, interestingly, sorry to switch it so quickly, but who's your best sale? Speaking of how good Amavi
you'd have to say Benteke for the money.
Yeah, for the same reasons that you hope Amavi does in the future.
Yeah, he's allowed us to make the business happen that we have done this summer. And I think it was a positive. I'm past caring about Delph. Like, it's gone.
Yeah, we know.
I love the fact you signed 3 Jordans this year.
Yeah, we've got a lot of Jordans.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Jordans.
Are you Veretout? Is it Veretout? That sounds
Veretout, yeah.
And Amavi.
Interestingly, it looks like the most expensive one of the lot, which is Jornai, might take the longest to settle in out of all of them.
Are you serious? Sorry.
Most of the signings have looked pretty like...
Bloody hell.
Hang on, we can't let that go.
I can't, don't. Carry on.
Most of the signings are like they found their feet quite quickly in the Premier League, but he's taken a little bit longer and has looked a bit off the pace. Maybe we signed the wrong IU. I don't know. But I'm pretty happy with the window, all in all.
So is Mark Bunn.
I was about to say, he's their best signing.
We were talking about Mark Bunn the other day. He's got one of the best jobs in football, hasn't he? Really?
Yeah, he has. He's played about 50 first team games, something ridiculous like that. Maybe 100 actually. But even so, he's like early 30s, middling 30s, and he's just gone around clubs, being the backup,
makes a wonderful living.
He must be really, really good. Like when teams are warming up their goalies, he must be really good at kicking the ball to the first choice goalie. That's his job.
Mark Bunn's Instagram or his Twitter, either one, is fantastic. The life of a backup goalkeeper is the life I want to live, frankly. But let's move on then. We'll brush over Bournemouth a little bit, but we'll mention a couple of their ins. They brought in Atsu, who I think is a good bit of business. Distan's gone in as well. Josh King, Lee Tomlin, Glenn Murray on deadline day. Max Gradle, which looks like a really good bit of business, and Tyrone Mings was their most expensive, and as well Artur Boruc.
We should say that Gradle's out till Christmas at least.
Ruptured knee ligaments,
with an ACL, yeah.
So. But they've got backups there. They've brought in backups. I guess Josh King and Atsu are gonna play there. Sad for Gradle, obviously, that he's going to be out for such a long time.
Bournemouth spent big though, really. I'm looking at their chances. They spent £23 million on players. Like that is I don't want to say that's a massive investment, but that's pretty hefty for a team coming up who, I think by their own admission, are a team who are prepared for the fact they are likely to get relegated this year, and obviously can't spend a ton. They
spent quite big, but I think some of the like they've got Atsu on loan. They've got Joe Bennett on loan from Villa, who was okay at Villa, from what I remember.
He was one of those players that under Lambert kind of looked a little bit out of depth in the Premier League, but that was admittedly a couple of years ago.
Yeah, as Jack says, Distan's coming on a free. Federici, King, and Boruc will come on frees. I think King had a little bit of a compensation thing, but. You're right, Jack. They have spent 23 million or so, but I mean, some of their frees and loans are going to make them a stronger side.
Sensible signings, and it's kind of the middle ground between like the sort of QPR idea of go all out on buying sort of aging Premier League players.
I don't feel like 8 million for Tyrone Mings is that sensible. Can I be honest?
I think it's a little bit like the Amavi thing, though.
They've got Wilson, and they've got Josh King, and they've got Gradle. They've got some rapid attacking players. I felt like that £8 million could have been really spent on a really decent defensive play. You look at the kind of players Villa was signing for perhaps a few more than 8 million. Obviously, it's Bournemouth. They can't attract perhaps those kind of players, but there are players I think that £8 million could go a long way to securing the services of that could help them significantly.
Well, I mean, Mings is a left back and Amavi's a left back, and Bournemouth have spent $2 million less on Mings than Villa spent on Amavi. But they're a newly promoted team, and they bought one of the best defenders in the Championship, if you believe kind of Ipswich fans. So there you are. Overall, I think they've done okay, though. I mean, they're a newly promoted club and they've spent some money. There's some newly promoted clubs that haven't spent much money. We'll come on to that. Chelsea, then. We mentioned Baba Roman's come in. Pedro came in.
Go quite swiftly through Chelsea because we've already...
Begovic came in, Kennedy, Nathan, Michael Hector on deadline day, and Radamel Falcao were like the main transfers that happened. On the out, there were some crazy outs, really. Czech's gone, Thorgan Hazard's been sold, Romeo's gone to Southampton for $4 million, McEachran's gone to Brentford. Like, just briefly on McEachran, do you remember when McEachran was talked about as being like the next young English?
It is McEachran, but I don't know. I do remember that, Ben, and it's quite a sad indictment of how young players are kind of treated at Chelsea. Like
you could see, go on.
They've let players like Izzy Brown and Solanke out on loan as well. And it's funny because when Mourinho came in, one of the things he first said was to on his second spell was that he was going to be a bit more committed to bringing the youth team through at Chelsea.
What do you mean he's not been committed? He's signed Kennedy and Nathan from Brazil for $11 million.
He's loaned Nathan back out again.
Yeah, they've loaned them back out, and they've loaned Hector back to Reading actually as well. And it's just their youth team is so successful every year. It's a really good quality standard of side that they consistently produce, and it just seems like they all go to waste and they go out to Vitesse and come back.
The word produce is interesting, by the way. Produce and what kind of actually happened is
Didn't they do that soccer BBC? I just said soccer. That should be some forfeit for that. There was some Sky series, was there not, whereby they were looking for Chelsea's next top young player. I think he was
from Leeds. He was called Craig something. They also had a left back as well. I didn't watch it, but I'm just guessing.
I feel like one of them entered a League One club, which is perhaps a testament for how good that
on Chelsea's outs. I've only done 4. Kakuta's gone. Felipe Luis has gone. Obviously, Drogba left on a free. The loans out as well. Van Ginkel's gone.
Are we going for all the loans? Because they've got 31 players out on loan.
Not all, just the ones that are notable. Van Ginkel, who's really, I think he'll have a good season at Stoke. Actually, Salah. Why even get him in? Crazy. Same with Cuadrado, actually. Same with Marco Marin. Lucas Pizan's gone to Reading. That'll be really interesting, actually. I can't wait for that. Nathan, is it Ake? Is that how you'd say his name? Bamford and Callas, who have been Chelsea's sort of bright young hopes for a long time, have also gone. And Victor Moses and actually Michael Hector has gone back to Reading despite being signed on deadline day. We said pre-season that we didn't think they had to do that much to be successful. They've spent quite a bit. They've brought in a little bit as well. Again, I asked the question on Arsenal. Do you think Chelsea are now a better team than they were at the end of last season?
I don't feel like they've progressed, but I don't feel like they've regressed.
It's difficult
to say.
Similarly
to Arsenal, then.
Yeah, just to finish on it, it's difficult to say whether they will look better because of maybe the problems that are going on in the back at Chelsea right now. On paper, they've made signings. They haven't lost any key players. Baba Ratman, Pedro, in particular. Falcao's cover, they all look like fairly sensible signings, but whether that will kick them on to the level they were last year, it remains to be seen.
I kind of think the big difference between Chelsea and Arsenal is that Chelsea don't, as much as they're struggling at the moment, I don't think they needed to kind of go and strengthen their team. I feel like in not going forward, it's not actually that big a deal for them, whereas for Arsenal fans want a lot, and I think they are right to have the ambitions they have. You consider the amount of money the club has. I believe they paid off a lot of the debt from the stadium now. They sell out their Emirates every week. It's one of the most expensive games to go to.
Yeah.
And yet, you look at them and they're spending £10 million. And then you'd look at Chelsea, who this window signed. Well, they've spent almost £60 million on, with the exception of perhaps Pedro and maybe Baba Rahman, players who are only really there to pad out the younger team and perhaps be players who can be good down the line.
No, I agree with that. We'll move on to a team that I think have done some terrific business, actually. There's a couple of signings in here which I think are very, very good. Crystal Palace have brought in Yohan Cabaye, Connor Wickham, Alex McCarthy, Bakary Sakho and Bamford on loan. Their outs include Glenn Murray, Barry Bannon's gone to Sheffield Wednesday, Guardiola, is that how you'd say it? It's gone to Watford. Shola Amiobi was released, which I think we can all look down upon.
It's a sad one.
It's a sad day for football.
And Peter Ramage has gone as well, which
I didn't even know he was still
no,
around.
I thought he was probably a coach. They're kind of the ones you may have heard of, is what I'm getting at. Stephen Dobby's also left. Do you remember when Dobby sort of went into Blackpool and did really well for a little bit? I don't remember that. Anyway, Cabaye, what a signing that is for Crystal Palace. When you look retrospectively at what other teams have done this window, 13 or so million for Yohan Cabaye looks like one of the signings of the window. Kale Lumkeen.
Yeah, it's the type of player that only Alan Pardew can attract. He sweet talks them, and Cabaye's ready to leave Paris straight away.
An offer of crystals and Cabaye was there. Connor Wickham for 9 million seems like a lot though, Jack.
I was about to say that. Now that I see that on paper, that's a mental deal. If I'm Sunderland, I am laughing. I understand why Sunderland fans wanted to sign so many players, because if you've got £9 million to Connor Wickham, Connor Wickham, did he start at Ipswich? He was really hot.
Yeah, he was.
Did he go to? I want to say he went to. Did he go to Everton and then?
Dreaming straight to Sunderland for
that
a big fee.
That must have happened in a Football Manager save at some point. I don't know.
Straight to Sunderland for a big fee, and then back over to.
I just £9 million. If he could prove me wrong, but I'd rather have gone after Defoe for £9 million, despite his age, because I think he'll get you more goals in one season than Wickham will in his Premier League career.
Here we go again.
Quick.
Just quick. Alex McCarthy, really good signing as well. I do want to say Sakho's good. I think McCarthy was really clever as well.
Sakho is kind of they've got some really good wide players at Palace now. Sakho sort of fits in with the Balassi Zaha, quite unpredictable impact kind of player, and the fact that they've got him on the free, he was one of the talking players of the Championship. He's been consistently performing at that level for a few years now, and it's a good signing, especially on a free.
He's got 2 goals and an assist so far this year too.
Yeah, and it'll remain to be seen if Patrick Bamford has an impact. Everton, Ramiro Funds Mori from River Plate for 9.5 million, quite a big transfer fee.
Yeah, that was their big one on deadline day, wasn't it?
It was.
And it does seem like quite a high fee for a player who's not played in Europe yet.
It's very Championship Manager, Football Manager, that signing, because he's from River Plate, and River Plate are a hotbed of talent. Jack, you thought they should have gone for someone else from River, though, didn't you?
I did. I made the little joke that they should have gone after Eder Alvarez Balanta, the young Colombian international who was in the World Cup squad, only 19.
Callum, have you heard of Balanta, by the way? I'm just intrigued. Have you ever heard of Balanta?
I've heard of him through your
the great
yeah, okay, right.
He's a god among men.
Yeah.
The thing is, Mori, I remember being quite young in Football Manager and being hotly tipped. He's 24 now. £24 not to go to Europe.
£24?
£24? I would have bought him for that. God, I'd have been 25. God damn it.
My mind's just not quite with it today.
No, but your body's telling you, yeah.
Right, that's going to be the outro for this week's show.
Sorry.
But no, I just think for a 24-year-old, £9.5 million is a crazy sum of money to spend on kind of a player coming from South America straight to the Premier League. Like, you hear of, the odd kind of South American player maybe ending up in the Bundesliga or Italy, kind of, 24, 25. It doesn't happen a lot in the Premier League. And a lot of people, from what I've read, are very, very apprehensive about this signing. Even people, kind of, South American journalists who watch a lot of this guy. I believe he played in the Copa Libertadores
very
for
good. I like that.
River Plate.
Yeah.
And he was like a good player for them there. But I don't know, he's the kind of player who I would expect to hear linked with other clubs rather than just going to Everton.
Yeah. Well, Everton also brought in De La Feu, who they've got back from Barcelona. They've actually bought him now. Aaron Lennon, who I credit to Rodri. If you Rodri, that sounds very vague.
No one's going to know who Rodri is. You want to elaborate on this?
I feel like I've made up Rodri's name all of a sudden, but it nearly went to my brain. Rodri, who was on my Football Chat with Ben, Everton and Crystal Palace show, did a very good... He's on Twitter. Just search Rodri. I'm sure you'll find him. He predicted that transfer would happen on deadline day, so he was right. Rodri Cannon. I got there. Good grief. And Tom Cleverley also went on a free as well. Is Cleverley okay?
No, he's out, isn't he, for like 8 weeks?
Oh, okay, because I know he got injured.
I feel like a right little physio. I feel like I know all the injuries going on. This is what I spend my time at work
doing.
doing.
Update with Jack. That's what.
Next week he won't be on the podcast because me and Keno will have said that you've interfered too much, but you never know. Alcaraz left as long as Distan has gone to Bournemouth.
That's fine because he's dodgy. That's fine.
The big news for Everton is that they kept John Stones. We didn't talk about it in the Chelsea roundup. Obviously, they didn't sign Pogba either, Chelsea. But John Stones, everyone thought it would happen. But Ken Wright and Martinez said he wasn't going. Said it doesn't matter. You're not going anywhere. And that he stayed at Everton.
It was one of those where the owner and the manager makes themselves they put themselves in such a kind of unreturnable position, a stance on that kind of issue, that if they'd have sold him, it would have to have been for a silly fee. And I think if Chelsea had offered something stupid like 50 million, even the Everton fans could probably have understood that. But anything less, and they had to stand by their word on it. And once they made themselves so clear, I think that was pretty much it. And Stones is going to have to keep performing as well if he wants to make sure that he gets into the England squad. And that's an interesting fact that applies to a lot of the players that haven't been able to force a move this window. You look at maybe De Gea and Berahino and Stones. They're going to have to keep performing, and they can't sort of go on strike, as it were, at their clubs.
Well, we'll talk about West Brom.
Oh yeah, but because of the Euros, that's a factor, and players are going to have to keep playing.
No, you're completely right. Overall, I think Everton have had it's not bad. I mean, I think their big transfer last year was Lukaku, wasn't it? And they're still waiting for him to fire on all cylinders. It didn't quite happen last season. This is the season they're hoping it goes well. And Aaron Lennon, this time round, looks delighted to have joined Everton. Have you seen the picture?
I have.
It's lovely. He's very smiley in it. I tell you what, someone said to him, Aaron, remember last year? Yeah, okay, go on then. Say cheese, and then he's laid it on him. Leicester City then, quite a few notable ins.
Great signings. Great, one particularly.
Okazaki, Jack.
Yeah, great player.
They also linked with Nagatomo.
They were. I think I posted that in our little Skype group. I was like, it's the Japanese revolution at Leicester. They're going to sign the Japanese national team, and I'm going to have to get myself a Leicester kit.
Jack was so excited. He put it in his Amazon basket, but he didn't have to actually give it the go code. Robert Kante's been signed. Do you know much about Kante? No, okay.
I know his name from somewhere. Why do I'm going to quickly do a quick Google search to find out about Kante, because I feel like I know about him. From somewhere.
The Gökhan Inler signing is quite an interesting one. I mean,
it is an interesting one.
Cambiasso was such a big player for them last year in that similar role, and you could sort of argue that Inler is a younger replacement for that.
He's 31, but you're right. It seems like
he's not Cambiasso age, is he?
It seems like a strange transfer for Leicester to be able to pull off. I don't know. I like it though. I like that he's here.
Well, yeah, I think it's another example of sort of the middle-level Premier League teams spending in anticipation of the new TV money.
Yeah, it's just not a very Premier League signing, is it? Gökhan Inler at 31. It's just.
But there's been lots of those around actually. So
I might sign Vieira next window.
Should we?
He's ready. Fuchs has also signed from Schalke, and Nathan Dyer has gone from Swansea. Cambiasso, as you said, went to Olympiacos on a free. Chris Wood has gone to Leeds United.
He
David
scored a
Nugent,
screamer the other week. Shout
4
out
million,
to this
4
one.
million for David Nugent. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to have a little kick.
I'd take Nugent over Connor Wickham.
And also, Matthew Upson's gone out, as well as was Gary Taylor-Fletcher and Paul Konchesky. Again, I'm saying names you've probably heard of.
Gary Taylor-Fletcher, he's had a great career. He's 34 now. He played I remember seeing him playing at Lincoln when he was 24 years old.
I also remember when Blackpool came up to the Premier League, and I think they played away at Wigan when they came up under Holloway and played really, really well. And Fletcher looked about 35 then.
He's 34, and he's not even 35 now.
I know, exactly. That's the amazing thing. He looked so old. So, yeah, you're right.
He scored 30 goals in 90 for Lincoln.
He's defied the laws of physics.
What a record that is. What a record. But no, I think Leicester, pre-season, I was a bit worried about them. Their early season form has put my mind at ease a little bit. I'm not sure they'll go down now, but we'll have to wait and see. On to Liverpool, the Inns, Benteke, Firmino, Jack, Klein, Gomez, Milner, Bogdan and Ings. That sounds more depressing now I've said it. Sterling, Barini finally left on deadline day pretty much. Lambert, Quatez, Steven Gerrard and Glenn Johnson and Brad Jones all left on freeze. Wisdom has gone to Norwich. Balotelli has gone to AC Milan. Markovic has gone to Fenerbahce, and as we mentioned earlier, Laurie has gone to Aston Villa.
I've just had something dawn on me.
Okay.
I was praising Sunderland for getting 9 million for.
I see where this is going.
And they've just spunked it all on Barini, haven't they? Which I don't really see the. What you've done there is you've made a great bit of business, then wasted it all.
Barini tried so hard to not have to move to Sunderland, and on deadline day, it eventually happened.
Barini would rather have not played football for a year than play for Sunderland. It's not funny, but it's like he didn't actually play for Liverpool last year. Like he kind of did, but not really. The one thing Barini did last year was come on, look really good, and get sent off in the space of about 20 minutes. It was the highlight of the season for Barini last year. He actually played. How many games did he play for Liverpool? He played 12 appearances in the Premier League. No,
I don't remember that many.
They were all substitute. I think he started one game.
I think that's
because Liverpool paid for him.
Jack, you don't want to know.
I do.
Okay?
Please tell. I want to believe we made a profit because 10 million sounds like too much to get for him.
It was basically we paid more than Sunderland have just bought him for.
Can you elaborate on that? I'm going
13, Jack. Let's move on.
City.
Well, very quickly, Sterling was the sale of the summer for me as a Liverpool fan. I think he'll be brilliant at City, but to get 50 million for Raheem Sterling after a pretty poor season is quite good. Klein's a fantastic transfer. Gomez looks good. Milner is fantastic too. Benteke we'll see, and Firmino we'll see as well. Danny Ings, Jack, in a word.
Excellent.
Lovely. And Kino, quick word on Balotelli.
None of us really care anymore, do we? I mean,
I think you've just summed up the thoughts of most of England.
I've got this image in my head of Kino lifting up a shirt that just says "Nobody gives a damn," like in front of his mic, getting full on Balotelli.
Okay, Manchester City, the Inns, Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling, Nicholas Otamendi, England's Rose, Fabian Delph, Patrick Roberts, and Enis Unal. On the out, Scott Sinclair, Nastasic, Boyata, Richards, Milner, Gudetti, Jovetic, Dzeko, and Denayer. Is it Denayer? I do know how to say it, but I've completely forgotten how to. I think City have done bloody excellently.
You say they've done excellently. They've spent 150 million. I mean, you could have bought 15 Connor Wickhams, but I think they have done it pretty well. But I do think it's a lot of money. I feel like if you spend 150 million pounds, it better bloody look good, kind of when it's on paper.
But it does look quite good.
It does look very good.
I'm looking at it, and I've flicked back to Liverpool signings of Ings, Bogdan, and Gomez, and Firmino.
Right, get Ings off that list.
I'm calling him Firmino now. What have you done to me? and I'm looking at the De Bruyne, Sterling, Otamendi, and England's Rose, Fabian Delph, and not as good. Their outs are interesting as well because Jovetic and Dzeko have both gone out on loan. Neither really cut it, did they? It's a shame. Makes me sad.
Dzeko's not been terrible.
I think Dzeko's added quite a lot to this side.
I think I meant Jovetic more so, who was bought on quite relatively big money and
5 million, something like that.
Just has gone back to Italy, which
it's disappointing.
Makes me sad. Yeah,
didn't he score 3 goals in his first 2 appearances back? I feel like he did. I think he might be like Inter's second ever player to do that too. There's a fact for you.
So Kevin De Bruyne moved on deadline day. A lot of people were excited to see if it would actually happen, despite the fact he'd come out and say, I will not be moving. But De Bruyne, I think, is going to be I like it. I like it a lot.
He's going to be a four, Ben, 2015.
Yeah,
I think a player like De Bruyne is exactly what City need to be able to push further in the Champions League. That kind of signing just screams like European ambition, I'd say.
It's the one signing that I said pre-season, like they've got to make that. I thought City would make big signings, and since I've said that, Otamendi and De Bruyne came in, and I think those are the signings that I was talking about. So I think I had City at fourth before they made those signings. I would now put City top two, not just because of their start. I genuinely think Otamendi and De Bruyne are very, very good signings.
And if you look at also, you mentioned De Bruyne and Sterling, they've seemed to have adapted a little bit more to play. The reason I said about the Champions League, they seem to have adapted a bit more to play that kind of pacey counter-attacking style that is effective, particularly away from home in Europe against the top teams. That's why I think they will be able to. And also with the solidity of Otamendi, who with company will make quite a fearsome centre-back pairing.
Absolutely. Let's move on though. Across Manchester, we'll come to the main talking point. But Manchester United brought in Anthony Martial, Schneiderlin, Depay, Schweinsteiger, Darmian, and Romero were like the key signings, and Regan Poole on deadline day from Newport. Was it deadline day? Regan Poole moved. I'm sure I heard someone rumoured on the final day that Manchester United were bringing in, and it was like Manchester United have made a signing, and it was like a 21-year-old from somewhere or other. Di Maria has left Manchester United, as has Hernandez, Evans, Nani, Raphael, Van Persie, Tom Cleverley, Ben Amos has gone, Lindegaard's gone, Will Keane's gone out on loan, Januzaj has gone to Dortmund, very interesting, and Tyler Blockett's gone to Celtic. I wasn't thinking to start with this, but it has. I've just you know by the way I've said it. Januzaj has gone to Dortmund.
Bizarre.
In a word, thanks, Jack.
I've read your mind. Let's move on.
We'll talk about De Gea because it's. Jack, it's going to have to be explicit, okay?
I'm sorry, right. Cover your ears, children, if you...
The De Gea situation is fucking mental. It's... Manchester United must feel...
Whose fault is it?
Worse. Well, okay.
It's like it's been a bit like a really bad breakup. Like when I was watching Sky Sports cover it, it was kind of like, there'd been a breakup going on in the playground, and Sky Sports were kind of reporting on it all like... She said this, then he said this. Oh, we've got the best friend of the guy who broke up, and it's just a bit messy, really.
Yeah, no, it's a bizarre situation. I think Madrid waited too long, but they were forced to wait this long by Manchester United batting it away. It's been quite clear since the season started that De Gea wanted to leave.
Did he? I hadn't noticed.
Well, I mean, they've not played him, have they? I mean, it's so stupid that he's now not gone. All this talk that Manchester United fans, the one thing I'm hearing you say, and I feel really bad for you because I think the ideal situation is you sell him and you move on from it, and now you've got to sit with him for another year and he's going to go on a free, unless of course he signs a new contract, which would be.
Well, that's the rumour now, isn't it? Well. That he's now contemplating signing a new deal.
The thing is, of course, it's the rumour because there's no other rumour to talk about what they're going to do. So the only other alternative is he just leaves for a free. So of course the media are like, we need some more papers about the De Gea story. Let's make everyone think he's going to sign a new deal.
Did you hear about United's new arrival after deadline day though? They upgraded all the IT equipment today. So that's a good signing.
Did they genuinely?
Yeah, they genuinely have it. Old Trafford updated all the equipment.
I feel like they needed to after the ridiculous way that the De Gea saga ended on Tuesday. Which was that with although United said that they uploaded their documents to the FIFA intranet in time, United didn't. Real Madrid didn't upload the documents. Can I just say,
no matter which team's fault it is, if it's United or Real Madrid, this deal never goes until the last day of the window. It's like, if Alex Ferguson's in charge, it just doesn't happen.
Both Madrid and United had their coursework to do, right? And they were like, yeah, we'll do it. It's okay. De Gea will go. Right, David, you ready? Yeah, he wants to go. Fine. We'll just wait. We don't need to do it yet. We've got a month left of the transfer window. We'll let it rumble on a bit longer. And it got to the final day.
Keno, 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. Keno, we've got to get this done. Callum, I'll be Callum's mum.
I'm typing it up. I
found the keys. Callum, you've had a whole summer to do this, Callum. Why haven't you finished off your coursework?
Okay? It's all right. I'm going. I'm uploading it to Sep.
Okay, are you uploading it? Good, I'll be back in 5 minutes to make sure it's done.
No, Ben.
Callum?
Ben, the internet's died. I can't upload it.
What do you mean? What do you mean it's died?
What has this descended into?
Call Ed Woodward. Tell him I've not done it.
Ed, Callum, Ed's engaged. This is never going to work. Okay, email them again and make sure it goes through, okay? Put it in a PDF. You got that?
With that little skit, you have seen more insight into the Real Madrid De Gea saga than any other place on the internet. That is what happened.
I feel like that is actual. That's an accurate reconstruction. We have recordings from in the IT rooms of both parties.
I don't know what we've just done. Anyway,
I was just sat shaking my head through the most of it. Then I got on board with it.
In short, De Gea should have gone. They've both made a cock up. We'll live to see what happens. Anthony Martial signed for 36 million, boys. I don't know.
I've just sat with my mouth open. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't want to write this kid off, because that's what he is as a kid. He's a teenager. He's younger than me, so I'm going to belittle him.
Here we go. Sit back and relax, everyone.
Even if he is like making my lifetime's wage in like a year. But I'm just confused where this deal has come from. Apparently it came because Monaco failed to qualify for the Champions League, but he's not a player I've heard linked around Europe. He's certainly not a player you've heard of as even a possible kind of Premier League signing. I think he scored 8 goals in 12 last year, which is a fantastic scoring record. But he's only played from start to finish of 9 games in his entire career, and he's moving for £36 million.
I can't let that go.
8 goals in 9 is not terrible.
Origi got that, and he was in the league on worst team of the.
I feel like Origi did a lot worse than that. 8 goals in 12 is not bad.
Origi got something like 8 in 33. It wasn't that different to what.
8 in 33 compared to 8 in 12.
Who got 8 in 12?
Martial.
No, he got 9 in 35.
Well, where did I read 8 in 12? I don't know. I'm making up numbers now. I now need to check this. I need to be sure.
And he argues it back. He argues it back to you as well, Ben.
I know. Do you know what the worst thing is, Keno? I've got it in front of my eyes. I don't know what we're arguing.
I'm going to check this.
While you check that, Keno, Schneiderlin, Depay, Schweinsteiger and Darmian, really, really good signings.
They're all good signings, but I'm not sure they'll be enough to bring United the title this season, or even get them to where they want to be, challenging in the top 4.
No, I think United fans would arguably agree, and their situation now is uncomfortable. Should have signed another striker, even if it was. I know last year they did it with Falcao, but they could have just got someone in who was, I don't know, a bit more experienced. It makes Van Persie's sale, although I kind of agree with it. The Hernandez sale is weirder in many ways. 12 million to Leverkusen for Javier Hernandez, who's been nothing but really.
Their refusal to sign.
Thanks, Jack.
Their refusal to sign a striker.
Whisper as Kino's talking so no one picks up on it. Come on.
Yeah, Ben, you were right, from Jack. Their refusal to sign a striker up until deadline day, and for that sum of money, just epitomises the way that they've gone about transfers over the last 3 years. That they end up blowing 30 million on a relatively unproven 19-year-old striker from France.
Jack, at this point, Jack, can you just come in as the Spanish FA just at this point for us, just during the role play? Callum, have you got it done? Jack, come in anytime. Callum, have you got it done yet, mate? Callum, this course.
Why is this role play resuming?
Right, have you sent it
We're
off?
a serious footballing podcast, and this is what we've descended into.
You've got to come in now as the Spanish FA and tell us that it's too late. Okay, so Callum,
it's too late. Deadline's closed.
Oh shit!
Callum, you promised me. You promised me this coursework would be done.
The internet went down. Sep,
I couldn't
get it to Sep in time.
Do you know what the worst thing about this roleplay is? I don't know if you can hear this, but that's me holding the remote control to my ear as a phone. I'm gonna.
This has become very serious. High budget production here.
Right, Newcastle United.
Wait. We need to before we finish. I just want to make a few points. The first one is we need to apologise as a show collectively.
It was a good role-play.
To Charlie Austin, because we've not got him his move to United. That was rumoured. They could have signed 2 Charlie Austins. We didn't do a very good job of selling him.
We tried as hard as we could to get Charlie a move, and it seems like it's not happened. So for that, everyone on the show and our audience who all supported you, Charlie, we're sorry.
I will not apologise. You didn't tweet back.
The next, he didn't exactly. If you want to tweet at Charlie Austin, ask him to come on as a guest. We're still open. We'll give you a second chance. The other thing I wanted to point out was the fact I look at Manchester United signing since Van Gaal has taken over. There isn't any logic to them. I've decided there is no game plan that Van Gaal has. He signs Di Maria, then sells him, then buys Depay to play the same place. I just don't get it. He brings in players, doesn't play them to the system, then moves them on, then starts playing the system he needs them in, and then doesn't buy the right players, at least in my opinion, for the right money.
It's indicative of the way that I think United have decided to turn in the kind of after Ferguson, in the sense that they need instant success now. No one's willing to take the time and build a project over 4 or 5 years. They tried to take the kind of same approach as City and Chelsea and spend a hell of a lot of money in a short amount of time to try and buy them the title in a season or 2 seasons. And Van Gaal won't be here in 3 or 4 years' time. I will bet my house on that.
I don't think he'll be here at the end. I think he'll be gone by the end of the year, or at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think he'll do one more, but yeah, I think you're pretty much
quite.
Newcastle United, Callum, thank you. Newcastle United, Wijnaldum, Mitrovic, Thorven, Mbemba, and on the outs, Gutierrez, Sammy Amiobi's gone to Cardiff, Remy Cabello went out on to Marseille, Shane Ferguson left, Adam Armstrong left. The only reason I mentioned those 2 players, and Adam Campbell, is that they were all quite sort of young up-and-coming Newcastle players, and they've all been loaned out. And Vukic, is it Vukic, or another one that's been loaned out? Do you think Newcastle fans are happy about what's been done?
Oh, what? Sorry, I don't know who you're asking here.
I mean, anyone.
I'll come in. I think
the Spanish FA.
I think they'll be happy to see money being spent. I'm not convinced by necessarily their signings. I think I can't say the guy from PSV's name. Could someone chip in with a pronunciation?
Wijnaldum.
It's Wijnaldum, isn't it? I think he's a good signing. I think Mitrovic is a good bit of entertainment for 12.5 million. He might not. He'll grab you some goals, but I think you'll be seeing as many red cards as goals. Really,
Alexander Mitrovic has spent 13 minutes in the Premier League this season, not on a booking or sent off.
I feel like that's my stat from last weekend.
It's a great start, whoever it is. It's a great start. He got sent off at the weekend, and just to clarify, it was a red. Don't argue with it. It was a red. We all agreed back then it was a red.
I've changed my mind.
I think they're okay. I think they should have bought a defender, like a proper defender. I know Mbemba's quite sort of.
Are you saying Ivan Toney isn't a defender? Is he a defender? I don't even know. They signed him from Northampton.
He's a striker. He
can play centre back.
One of their best players. Anyway,
Newcastle have made like a kind of a small amount of signings for a large amount of money, and I'm worried that those kind of fees are quite high. For the players that they've signed, sort of Mitrovic 13
I don't know. I think they're pretty fair. I think Wijnaldum and Thorven are like really.
I worry for Newcastle, the way that the fans can turn quite quickly, and I worry for McLaren in the way that the media might turn on him quickly after because they've not started that well, and if there's a bad run of results and they're in a bad position in the table, I can see the pressure being turned on McLaren, and then the signings that he's made for that amount of money quite quickly. It doesn't look like it could work out really well. Wijnaldum's a very good player. I've not really seen that much of Mitrovic or Mbemba, but Thorven was good for Marseille last season in the Champions League in particular. But whether if something does go wrong, essentially people will look right at those fees and go, look what you've spent there and why are they not performing.
Yeah, it should be noted that Newcastle have played Southampton, who were very good last year, United, Arsenal and Swansea away, and Swansea have looked really good. And their upcoming fixtures, West Ham and Norwich, I think. I know West Ham, Watford, and then Chelsea, so that's not that kind. But like you could see them going away to West Ham, the way West Ham are playing, and Newcastle coming back with a win. It's just that situation in West Ham's next game. Or losing 5-0, I guess we'll see.
Should we talk about another club that you two are kind of paying attention to? Norwich?
Well, they've done. Sorry, Norwich fans, but you've done like nothing.
You've
nothing
done the worst business I can remember in a Premier League transfer window for a newly promoted team. Can I say that? Am I allowed to be that harsh?
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I think Thorens is he's playing for the club that it would make sense that he would be at. Robbie Brady, he spent a lot of money on. I think he's a good player. I think he's looked good for you actually so far this season, but it's not a signing that's going to keep you up. Malumbu, if you can keep him fit, is a good signing. Andre Wisdom won't play because you like the Basong Martin partnership. And Matt Jarvis is probably quite a good bit of business. Bradley Johnson's sale, as much as I don't think he's that good, I know he was very good for you last year, but overall Premier League standard wise, I don't think he's that good. 6 million's good.
Do you not think weird. Like a midfielder who scores, was it 15 or 16 goals in the Championship in a team like Norwich who are probably going to struggle for goals, is a player that's worth having, even if it's just to come on off the bench?
Well, I think I could list you off about 20 players that have scored that many goals in the Championship and are just nowhere near Premier League standard. But I kind of see what you're saying, that especially from central midfield, it seems like it's just confusing, isn't it? It looks like something's gone on there that you're not
Well,
too sure about.
Should we want to talk about
No,
rumours?
no, we can't afford that. We can't afford the costs.
If we get sued, I'm sorry, but the word on the street...
No, we don't have to talk about it. Ricky Van Winkle's left. Okay, good. Michael Turner's gone as well. Tony Andrew has gone. I think that's how you say his name. Vadis has left as well, which is strange. 2 players have gone to Rotherham. Although, if you can look at the site, boys, Daily Mail have written it as Rothjam, which I really like. In the bottom out for Norwich.
That's really nice.
I don't read
like that.
Daily Mail, Ben. So.
No, it's just where we may or not be getting.
Ojeda Afoe, is that how you say his name? It's a great name.
That was quite a good pronunciation.
Didn't he join them last year and just get injured, and now he's gone to Rotherham?
Yeah, I think Norwich really lack another winger. I think they lack a proper striker. I mean, they've brought in...
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't even mention Mbakani. Sorry, I didn't mention Mbakani, who's come from Dynamo Kiev, who is going to be seen, obviously, as the guy they've brought in to score the goals. We'll see, won't we? We'll see.
We know little about him. Democratic Republic of Congo, that guy?
Yes, he is. That is the guy.
Having seen the business that they've made, I worry for Norwich in the sense that they may lose quite a lot of games and will play quite well, and no one will really take that much notice of how their form is doing, and they could kind of slip into the bottom 3 quite sort of under the... I know it's a kind of a funny expression, but they could slip in under the radar and be adrift quite early on. I fear for Norwich, especially with looking at the business that they've done. I agree about Brady. I agree about Brady, but he's not the kind of signing that will inspire a team to good form.
Yeah, I think that's similar point that I made there. Southampton have done good business after selling a couple of players. Schneiderlin and Klein obviously left. Mayuka's gone. Boric has gone as well as a few others. Danny Osvaldo was released. They got Stephen Colker on loan, Stecklenburg on loan. Cedric Soares has come in from Sporting Lisbon, who's spoken of quite highly. Kuko Martina, another one who's spoken of quite highly. Romeu Juanmi, who's just John Mai in my eyes.
I will say I think Romeu is because I know what. He played quite a bit for Chelsea and then went out on loan, I think. Possibly.
Did he play under Di Matteo quite a lot for Chelsea?
He did, and then he went on loan to... I'm not sure. Was it Turkey? Could have been?
I thought Chelsea only loaned out players to Vitesse.
Yeah. This kind of was before the whole... Well, a little bit. But he'd been out of the public eye for a bit over here and come back. And I think that could be a really solid signing for Southampton.
He went to Valencia and Stuttgart, just to clarify.
Yeah, he could be a good replacement for Schneiderlin in the middle, particularly. Yeah. And this hasn't been a signing, but one of the best bit of business that they've done this window is keeping Wanyama and sort of saying no on the final day, because he is a crucial part of their team.
Jordi Classy as well, good signing. And Van Dijk as well from Celtic, deadline day signing, wasn't it?
I'm surprised how much they had to spend on Van Dijk, but
Celtic considering Celtic didn't get Champions League.
Celtic were determined to keep holding him. 11.5 is... I don't want to say that's a cheap fee, but that's quite a lot for a centre-back coming from the SPL.
Celtic have that kind of business model where they'll take gambles on European players, like Wanyama, and sell them on for a higher fee, particularly to English clubs. Yeah. And that's a good example of that.
Boys, we have 7 clubs left. I feel like we've spoken about Stoke quite a lot during the last couple of shows. If you want to hear our opinions on players like Shaqiri and Afellay...
Shea Given was their best signing.
I feel like you should go back and listen to those because honestly, we have spoken about Stoke a fair bit. Sunderland, I think we've covered them quite a lot as well. Apart from the Barini signing, which you kind of touched on, that it's quite expensive, but I think Sunderland fans are quite pleased to see him go there. They also brought in Toverland, who's been linked with a move to the Premier League for a long time.
They also did sign. Yeah, they signed DeAndre Yedlin on deadline day. That was one of the very last minute deals to go through. He was quite impressive for the US, particularly last year in the World Cup. And I thought Tottenham might use him a little bit more than they have done. But,
well, they brought in Trippier, didn't they? So that was kind of Yedlin's.
That could be. Although he didn't play for him really, that could be an interesting signing. I will also say actually, having been to the when we played them at the weekend, been to the game. Ola Toivonen, who they brought in from Rennes on loan, I think for the season, they brought him on at half-time during the game, and he looked really good, and he actually changed the game for them. And I've not seen him play or heard of him before, but he was.
He's a football manager guy. I think a lot of football manager players will know about him.
I'm just searching him. I recognise his face.
He drove through the midfield really well and opened up a lot more space for them in the second half, which they weren't getting, and allowed players like Villa to dictate a little bit more. So he could be maybe a surprise one.
Yeah. Swansea, we touched on a bit before. We think AU's a fantastic signing. Edo as well. Interesting with Swansea, we touched on earlier, but they've clearly got a system at Swansea, and the signing of Eder is basically, if Gomez gets injured, we have the ready-made replacement, and I like that. I like that a club aren't thinking, we'll go to option B, we'll bring on a player who's very similar in mould, and he'll fit the system they're playing.
I also like the fact they've not signed or sold a lot of players compared to a lot of other teams. They've kind of let a lot of fringe players go. I know they loaned out Nathan Dyer, but with the exception of him and perhaps Alan Tate, honourable mention, they've not really lost any players who have been, part of their first team plans, really. And then they've kind of signed Ayew, Eder. I've not heard about, is it Tabanu from Saint-Etienne? I don't know a lot about that guy. Is it,
left back is my guess.
Does he sound like a left back? Is that the logic we're going with here?
No. I genuinely think he's like quite a sort of 25-year-old left back. Okay, if he's a bit older and plays right wing, I'm so sorry, but I think he's a
left back or left winger. According to Wikipedia.
There you are then. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you are. I think he's just a squad player. You know what I mean? He's one of those players that won't start. They've not had this big turnaround, and I mentioned that I think they're the best managed club of what seems like an age ago, about an hour ago when we started this show. But I just like the transfers they've made, and I think it's refreshing to see a team not spending tens of millions of pounds.
And it seems like the most common sense way to do it, yet it's only Swansea who's replacing, the players that they need to replace each summer. Yeah. Should we? Yeah.
West Brom have done a similar thing as well, actually, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Tottenham have brought in Sung Hyung Min, who cost a lot of money for Bayer Leverkusen.
But he is an excellent player. I think he'll actually make quite a big difference to them.
A lot's expected from him.
I want him to be successful, but I can't help but close my eyes and think he's going to be Lamela Mark II. I don't think he will be, but I feel like with Tottenham they have this curse where they'll bring in players who have a good reputation from other European leagues, and then they just don't quite live up to the expectations.
It's going to be interesting. He's still pretty young, 23 years of age, so he's got a lot of time to sort of...
The big thing with Spurs, we should probably say, is the ridiculous way that they handled the Berahino deal when they desperately need a striker.
I don't think it was ridiculous on their behalf. Can I say that?
I think it is ridiculous on their behalf because they desperately need a striker.
Just say what I think. Son is not a out-and-out striker. He sort of plays off Harry Kane, you'd expect. That was classic Daniel Levy on deadline day. And if I was a Spurs fan, I would be so frustrated with the way that he handles his transfers, because he, as it's been kind of rumoured, he was haggling over the odd 1 million or the odd clause here and there in the Berahino contract, and that was one of the main reasons why it didn't go through. And to leave your team without a striker at least until January to back up Harry Kane.
They've got Clinton. They've got Clint.
I was waiting for that.
They've got Clinton.
Big man Clint.
He plays a little bit wider and did for Leon last year. It seems like it's just classic Levy, and they'll probably get what they deserve this year when Harry Kane either is A, not in form as he isn't right now, or B, gets injured, and they'll see. And
I've got my hand raised here to defend Daniel Levy for the first time ever in my life.
Okay, you can do it on next week's show. Alderweireld and Wimmer have come in at centre back, and Kieran Trippier. Can't believe it. And Kieran Trippier has come in at right back. They sold Paulinho, Soldado, Capoe, Stambouli, Kirichez, Kabul, Lennon, Holtby. My God, they got a lot of players.
Tottenham did the best deal of the window, and that was selling Paulinho to Guangzhou for £10 million.
That was. Quickly defend Levy, go on.
Well, I just think that Berahino wanted out. Pulis wanted Berahino out. The only reason he's not gone out is because the West Brom chairman, you can even say he stuck to his guns, or he's interfered quite heavily here. Because
he owns the club. He can do that.
From what I've heard, Tottenham offered 25 million for Berahino. That is a lot of money for a player who has attitude problems off the pitch. He's rumoured to be a bit of a kind of player who can unsettle a team. There's players that have got better goal scoring records or as good a goal scoring records who are English, going for a lot less money. You've got players who are also available for £15 million, like Charlie Austin. I did say, to be fair, a few weeks ago that I didn't think that West Brom would sell Berahino for less than 30 million, and you guys told me that if they got 20 million, he'd be straight out the door.
I can't believe he's managed to work in. I can't believe he's managed to work in a Charlie Austin / Danny Ings reference.
Kino, the best thing to do is ignore it and let the viewers suck it in.
The point I'm making is that a few weeks ago, I feel like we swapped around here, because a few weeks ago I said that I think they'll have to offer 30 million, or else I don't think West Brom will let him go. And you guys were like, early 20s would be fair. That's the kind of bid it'll take. And well,
it was after they brought in Rondon, though.
I mean,
it seems crazy.
Can
we talk about West Brom in a minute, please? Honestly, we'll come back to this in like 2 minutes' time. Watford have brought in Kapue, Ula.
You'll be here all day talking about this one,
which is hard to say. But Barami. Do you know what, Watford? It's your own fault. I can't bother to list all of them. You brought in a lot of players. We'll see how they get on this season. On the outs, not that many players that are really surprising. I guess Forestieri's the only one. Vidra's gone to Reading on loan as well.
They only signed him this year officially. I mean,
officially.
It's one of their transfers, isn't it?
It's one of those.
Udinese. It'll be really interesting, just quickly on Watford, to see how it's basically like an experiment that they're doing.
It is,
and it'll be interesting to see if that experiment is enough to keep a team in the Premier League. I mean, Watford fans
are quite optimistic because the Pozzos that own Watford do this across Europe. So for an Italian set of management, which is effectively what they've got at the top end of Watford, they're not that worried because they do this with Udinese and it tends to work okay. So they're not that concerned because
whether it'll work in the Premier League is the.
We're going to find out.
We are going to find out. Barbo on loan, like there are people across the land who play FIFA crying inside at the fact that's happened.
That's going to be. Play the draft mode, everyone. That's all I can suggest. Diamante has also gone sort of quite late doors. West Brom, Jack, now carry on talking about your Berahino situation. Is Rondon and Ricky Lambert enough to keep West Brom up this season? They also brought in Gnabry,
it's going to have to be, if you
etc.
believe what you read from, one Berahino tweet, which was, I'm never playing again, basically. Not ever, just, while the chairman's still there.
He's an idiot, isn't he? He's an idiot. He needs to shut his mouth. I'm not one to talk about what's said on Twitter, apparently, but,
The thing that annoyed me about this was, and I can't remember the West Bromwich chairman's name, I think it's something James or James something.
Jeremy Peace.
Mr. Peace. Jeremy Peace.
Well, he's not very peaceful. The thing that annoyed me about this was the fact that he came out and basically blasted Tottenham for trying to unsettle his player. The only reason people knew about the bids, which allegedly was what kind of unsettled Berahino, was the fact that they publicly said, we've rejected this offer of Tottenham's offers on their website throughout the season. And I criticised it last week, and it just seems to me like you've basically gone, Tottenham have played games and tried to unsettle our player, despite the fact we made every single one of their bids public that they kept behind closed doors. It feels to me like West Brom are kind of just trying to make a show of it, and Mr. Peace over there is basically trying to make it look like he's this kind of white knight defending his team. You look at how Everton handled the John Stones thing and not selling him. There was no public rejections. It was basically like he's not for sale. End of. Whereas what West Brom have done is they've kind of repeatedly said it. From what I understand, the manager in this instance wants Berahino to leave. He wants him to go. And the chairman said no.
I agree that the Albion did seem to be playing kind of hard to get, sort of kissy face at Tottenham to try and get them to offer a bit more, to squeeze as much money out of the deal as they could. And then when you're negotiating with Levy, and you know that he's such a hard-line negotiator, as everyone says, when it was clear that he wasn't going to offer more, they kind of got a little bit annoyed and were like, "Oh well, we'll come up with like an anti Tottenham bit of propaganda at the end of it."
Everton did say, by the way, they rejected the transfer request, and then they said, since the start of the transfer window, we resolutely turned down offers from another Premier League club, Premier League football club for our player. Like, we kind of know who that is. And then they went on to say that he's a highly valued member of the squad. If you look
at the difference between that and the West Brom thing, which was Tottenham have bid for Berahino again, we've said no again. And they did it 4 times. It was like they were trying to draw attention to it.
But from West Brom's point of view, they will have said after that first bid, you've got to have seen this is what will have happened. They'll have said, he's not for sale, there's no point in you bidding. So every time they bid, they probably went, we're just going to tell everyone you keep bidding, despite the fact we've said he's not for sale.
I don't think that that's the case. I think that they've probably told Spurs, we'll let him go at X price. Because I think if that's the case, and allegedly the first bid came in like mid-August, Tottenham have time then to move on to other targets instead of making 2 last-day bids, unless they've been told there is a price he will go for.
Well, maybe Spurs missed out on Adebayor. I don't know. I missed out on Adebayor. He's already there. What am I on about?
It's hard to say. What year are we in?
It's confusing, though. West Ham finally did a lot of their business already, really. Didn't do that much on deadline day.
Is that sarcasm?
The Alex Song... yeah, it's a little bit. The Alex Song and Victor Moses things went under the radar, I thought. Alex Song was the first bit of business on loan again from Barcelona. Victor Moses from Chelsea. Payo, Bonner, Obiang, Martio, Yelovich. That's... Carl Jenkinson has also come in as well. Darren Randolph from Birmingham. It's I think it's been a pretty successful window for West Ham. I think Villa should be pleased. They're also interesting as well.
I actually think they've done quite a lot of the Song and Moses ones are kind of good signings on the surface, but I think after their sort of funny start, it reflects a bit of kind of panic from maybe Bilic as to how his squad's shaping up. They spent a lot of money and made a lot of deals on, in the last couple of weeks of the window. Song seems like a logical one. Jelavic, like you say, I'm not too sure whether that. I think that is a little bit of a desperation to try and get a striker.
Do you think for £3 million that's that big of a risk compared to other transfers?
That's true, but it's more of. I think it's more of the fact they've made it and they felt like they had to, having seen the sort of dodgy performances that have come in so far. The up and downs. But it seems like they've made a lot of solid signings. Antonio as well for £7 million is a lot of money, I think.
I feel like this is the end of an era for West Ham in some ways. I look at players like Downing, Jääskeläinen, Kevin Nolan, and even, Carlton Cole, and they're players who you associate with West Ham. Maybe Jääskeläinen with Bolton, but they're players who have been part of that Big Sam era.
It's the end of the Big Sam era, yeah, I was going to say.
And it's kind of like them departing is kind of, I think it's marked the change of West Ham from being this team that kind of 10 years ago were a team, having their first season back in the Premier League, to a team who are now, a team who should regularly be aiming for the top half and have lofty ambitions with a new stadium ahead.
Also, I said Mikel Antonio was a lot of money from a Championship club. They have managed to fleece Middlesbrough for $7 million for Stuart Downing. So
I think it's 5, but yeah, you're right.
They've more or less paid for that.
Let's end it there, gentlemen, with a who do we think has done the best and worst business? Jack, who do we think, we'll go around, we'll do best first, then we'll come to worst. Who do we think has done the best business in the transfer window?
Best business?
Who do you think? Yeah.
I want to be boring and say Swansea, but that's like they haven't really signed anyone. But I guess
that's okay.
The best
you can
business,
say Swansea, Jack.
I'll go with. I'm now scrolling through, desperately trying to think. I actually think Villa have done quite good business.
Do you know? I was actually I was going to say the Villa as well. I agree with Swansea because they've just made the most. They've had a normal transfer window. I would actually say the Villa because there was a hell of a lot of rebuilding that needed to be done after the amount of deadwood that Paul Lambert brought in over 3.5 years. And it seems like it's quite early and they'll take time to gel, but it seems like that the signings might have been enough to rescue us from that cycle of relegation fodder that we've been over for the last 3 years. So it could yeah, I would say the Villa. I like the business that West Ham have done, and obviously Swansea as well.
I will say Manchester City. I know they spent a lot of money, but
yeah, true.
I think it could be. I think they might do
title-winning business.
Title-winning business, and they're the only club, in my opinion, that have done proper title-winning business. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see. Worst, Jack?
Norwich.
A few candidates, but you've gone straight for Norwich.
No thinking there.
Without hesitation.
Keno?
I agree with Norwich. I think Everton have spent a lot of money on Norrie. Is it Norrie?
Maury. Is it Maury?
Maury.
I don't know. Does anyone know?
They've spent a lot of money on him. And I know that they're kind of handicapped by the amount of money they've had, but they've done a lot of they've done well to keep Stones essentially, and Watford is a bit of a question mark too.
I will say Arsenal.
So you're dealing in the top end of the table. Me and Jack have been sort of around the table.
There's a team there that is capable of winning the Premier League if it was strengthened properly. Wenger's failed to do it, and Arsenal. I mean, let's congratulate you now on finishing 4th or 3rd. Because that's exactly what you'll do, and maybe that's what you want. But there's enough good players there that could potentially win you a title. And Wenger's stern approach of I just don't want to. I won't do it. Is really hurting you. And I'm not talking about what he's done in the past. He's transformed that club, but you've got to kind of talk about the here and now. And here and now, Arsene Wenger is, in my opinion, not the right man for that club. So.
And on that bombshell.
There you are. And on that bombshell,
do you want to say best signings?
Oh, go on then. Best signing. We won't do worst because you literally don't know.
Connor Wickham.
No. Best signing, Jack.
Danny Ings.
I'm not even asking for a proper answer. Keno.
That is my proper answer. I don't know what you're about.
Raheem Sterling.
Wow. Okay. I think Memphis will prove long term.
And Andre Ayew, but
Yeah, I think I think we're all agreeing is a fantastic signing for Villa. Lol. No, it's a fantastic signing for Swansea. I think Memphis will be a star in the future, and we're going to see that. I also think Pedro to Chelsea, not too bad at all. So that brings us to the end of a longer extended version of For the Fans show. If you have listened to it all the way through, please rate us on iTunes. You must think it's all right if you've got this far. Same for on YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. In fact, shall we leave a code word at the end of the YouTube recording for a comment to be left?
What do you want it to be? I feel like it should be something relevant to today's show.
I think it should be
pray for Austin.
Their spelling of Firmino. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I want to see it. Firmino.
Maybe embed it like in a hidden message that looks normal.
Excellent. Maybe your signing of the season is Firmino because he doesn't actually exist. Anyway, from me, Dr. Benji FM, from Jack Wet the Space, and from Callum Keane, Audio Maestro, who we've actually been able to hear this week, which is good. Well, I guess we'll find out. If you've heard this, yes, I'm not doing it again. Boys, say farewells.
Farewell.
Farewell.
Okay. We love with care. And until next time, from me, Dr. Benji. Goodbye.
Perfection. Keener, I think you're going to have to be calling for an oxygen mask over here, my friend.